Hello and welcome to the What Gets You Cooking podcast, where we dive into how to connect with yourself and others in all the seasons of your life. I'm Virginie, your host, and every month I'll deliver new insight on how to simplify your life and enjoy it more. I want this podcast to help you find what gets you cooking, what inspires you, and I want to help you discover how to live your life with more intent. Hello everyone and welcome to episode 25 of What Gets You Cooking. Today I want to talk to you about relationship. And first I would like to say that when we have healthy relationships with ourselves and others, everything seems a bit lighter. And that's what I want to discuss today. And first I'm going to go and try to define what I see as a healthy relationship. So I think it's based on a couple of criteria, maybe 5 or 6. The first of which is mutual respect. And respect for yourself, respect for others is really one of the biggest value that I see in life. And that includes boundaries. Then I think what makes a healthy relationship is also based on having open communications. And open communication I see as being able to say what's true to you and also being able to hear what it might be from someone else's point of view, whatever the situation is, being open. Then trust is one of the key ingredients for me in a healthy relationship. Being able to trust each other is really gonna be able to get to a deeper level, I think. After that, I think being honest with each other, being honest or true to yourself as well, and also feeling in a partnership, really feeling able to compromise and support each other. Finally, I think I see another aspect that's about self-confidence. So having confidence in yourself, so that you can help the other by being almost still being open, but being sure of what you want and what you don't want. I think it can also allow you to remain calm, to feel comfortable, so that you can take in whatever opinion someone in front of you might want to voice freely. Then really, the base of any relationship you have with others is anchored on your relationship to yourself. And really, the same principles apply when you want to look at your relationship to yourself. That you respect yourself, you trust your instinct, and you take care of yourself. You can get some kind of airtime about your fears, but also about your successes, that you're able to celebrate what you're doing right and taking in consideration when you feel down, maybe taking a break. All of that really matters. I'll give you another list that I found on Psychology Today and I'll put that in the show notes so you can get someone else's perspective as well. Then when it comes to how you can be curious about those relationships. And there I want to talk to you about something that I learned from Brooke Castillo, who is kind of my mentor in this coaching program that I'm getting certified in. And what she talks about and what really helped me to change and to kind of understand better what was going on and why it created so much suffering in my different relationships, especially in the family, but anywhere really. So that's what she calls the manual. And the manual is, like when you get any kind of appliance and you get that manual. You have rules about how to use it and how not to use it, what to do, how to take care of it. And a manual for people in your relationships, whether it applies to yourself or to your relationship with someone else, is all those sets of rules that you have. those expectations and the way that you expect people or even yourself to behave, you really are not used to pay attention to it. You just feel like it's a given, that's what you expect. But if you get a little curious and take a minute to pause and try to fully respect what's happening, you may realize that your expectations are not really justified. This is just what you've been used to thinking, and therefore you expect people to behave in a certain way. For example, let me illustrate that by thinking about something most of us feel towards our parents. I think that's a common one. We expect our parents to take care of themselves, especially when they age. We would like them to remain healthy as long as they can, and therefore we want them to eat the right foods. We want them to get some movement or exercise in, and to take care of their brains, especially their memory. So we may want them to have a social life. We may want them to make some effort to remain in touch with everybody, or to do some crosswords, or to just find the energy to do what they used to. In reality, if we give a chance to seeing things from their perspective, it might be different. And very often, we don't even pause to ask. And it's not easy. I want to reassure you, like, it's totally normal to have that manual and to expect things from others. That's just the way that most of us are used to live, and what we've seen and what we've heard from society telling us. So no surprise here. But I want to encourage you to just be curious today and take a look at what are your expectations? What are your expectations? What is that set of rules that you have for yourself and for others? And do you like it? Because if you like it, if it's not creating any suffering, if it's not creating any pain, and you're perfectly happy to have those beliefs and to expect certain things, that's fine. We all need to have boundaries, as well, as I talked about in my definition earlier. And that is perfectly fine. We all need boundaries. The thing is, sometimes we just don't realize what the rules that we have in our head are. And sometimes it's not creating the results that we want. Really doesn't make us really kind of happy in those relationships. And if there is some friction, if we're not totally happy about the way the other person behaves, about how we behave in return, sometimes it might be because of that manual that we have. Are our expectations really realistic, empathetic, and is this how we want to be in with this other person, or even with ourselves? Do we want to be giving us a break, giving the other person a break, or do we want to have stronger boundaries? And so that's the kind of the two aspects that I want to touch on now: unconditional love and boundaries. And what it makes me think is, when we talk often about unconditional love, we often think, or at least I think often, about parents and their children. That's the most common acceptance, I think, that we hear of. But really, why not try to apply it to anybody and to all of our relationship? Because unconditional love can be in any of your relationship, really, because you get to decide. You decide how you want to feel, and if you want to have a relationship or not. And I know it's not the way that we're used to think about it, but it's really the truth. What we think about it and what we may or may not expect from someone else is not going to change the way that they behave. We have to decide for ourselves what do we want and how we want to feel towards that person. So that brings me to the boundaries. And boundaries are very important. It's very important because this really goes hand in hand with this concept of unconditional love and the way that we get to apply those principles I talked about having healthy relationship, which is trust and respect, and boundaries are about respecting yourself and kind of liking the reasons why you're doing things. And very often we make the decisions that we make on a daily basis so quickly that sometimes we don't realize what or why we decide to do something, to make certain decisions, to do certain actions. And we also kind of change our reasons sometimes depending on which settings we're in. For example, what I mean by that is if we are in a parent role, or if we are in a colleague role at work, or if we are in the child role with our parents, we sometimes are going to decide to act in a completely different way, and we don't even realize it. Sometimes we almost feel like the rules and the manual we have for ourselves is handed down to us by habits, just the way we do things, that's what we say. And so going back to boundaries, I think it's really important to have boundaries that enable you to be who you are and to feel the way that you want to feel. So you can decide to have whatever boundary that you want for yourself. And there is no right or wrong. You just need to like your reason to set the boundaries that you choose. And then that will be really easier for everybody, because basically what happens when you have boundaries in your mind and you don't express them, and you don't have to tell people what your boundaries are necessarily, but sometimes it's helpful to let them in on what you would like to happen, because otherwise they will not understand what's happening, especially if you decide to change your boundaries. So depending on what you want from your relationships, I think it's important for you to have clear boundaries, because then you can stop making excuses and thinking that someone else didn't do something that you approve of, and therefore you kind of blame them. And that doesn't necessarily ruin your relationship, but it's making you feel not great. It's making you feel sad, or it's making you feel mad, when if you stop and think about it, really what's happening is that you didn't set a clear boundary, and now you're mad, and they don't even know why you're mad, and you just are kind of starting to resent them. So if that's not how you want to feel in that relationship, I would strongly advise you to kind of define your boundaries for yourself. Really think about it, take a minute, maybe write about it, journal about it a little bit to make it clear, and to also check in, see what you like, what you don't like in your relationship, and what boundaries you may have expressed to yourself and then to others if necessary, so that you can follow through with everything. All right, friends. So now I've talked about my definition of healthy relationships, unconditional love that everybody deserves, and our boundaries. I hope that was helpful for you. Thank you very much for listening and being here with me today, and I will see you next month. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening today. Now, I would like to invite you to go to whatgetsyoucooking.com/contact and book a free 30-minute coaching session with me. As part of my training, I'm offering 5 free sessions with me. So you can go ahead, book your spot, whatgetsyoucooking.com/contact, and click on the link in the blue box to book your session with me. I'll be happy to coach you, and I'll talk to you next month. Bye, friends.